Hey guys, it's Payne. I'm really excited to introduce a brand new show to Bet the Board that combines sports and alternative investing, the very first of its kind. Sports betting and collectibles converging is inevitable. Let me tell you why. Sports cards and memorabilia are another way to get money into the market and do it without limit restrictions or the substantial hold you're accustomed to with sports betting. Whether you collected cards as a kid and are looking to get back into the hobby, this podcast is for you. If you've been collecting cards for years, this podcast will make you think and operate more efficiently. Are you in real estate? The parallels to investing in sports cards and memorabilia are uncanny. You're on Wall Street. Well, listen close. The best sports cards have outperformed the S&P 500 by 6x since 2013. And during the 2008 market crash, sports cards held up better than the S&P 500. Bet the Board, in conjunction with PWCC, presents CardBoard Chat, an entertaining, sophisticated, and informative podcast that combines sports, analytics, betting, cards, and memorabilia. Without further ado, this is CardBoard Chat with Jesse Craig, a leading figure in the collectible space, and me, Payne. It's been a couple weeks, buddy. How goes it?
Yeah, man, it has. Things are good. You know, lots of stuff going on with the new year, and changes with everything. So it's kind of a, I always like Jan 1. It's kind of a fresh start to take a look at everything from a different lens and figure out what you're going to do for the next 12 months.
How's that going for you?
It's good. It's good. It's a lot, but it's good.
Have you broken any of the New Year's resolutions 9 days in?
I don't make them.
Okay, that's a smart man.
Yeah. I'm not a resolution guy. I have stuff I want to do, and that's it. I don't think the time of the year though matters for that.
Completely agree. And here we are, back, episode 10 of CardBoard Chat. We've been away from our loyal listeners for a couple weeks. Time away makes the heart grow fonder, my friend, is what I'm told.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, so we've gone through some topics over the first 9 episodes. It's been tough to find a couple, so we've had some loyal listeners give me some ideas. I sent you one, and I thought it was pretty good. You tidied it up for us. So we're going to start by identifying sets that could have long-term significance, and I'm going to let you lead the way. But I think in addition to kind of pinpointing some of those sets that we think are going to be great down the line, maybe some of the characteristics of what to look for, because that allows you to maybe spot some things before it's widely recognized in the market and allow people to capitalize.
Yeah, totally. And I do think that there's sometimes that you just can't anticipate the love that someone has for, or the affinity that a group of people have for a specific card. It just happens naturally and people start falling in love with it. So there is a little bit of luck involved, I would say. But when I'm looking at productions and sets, I always like to look at, first year production, first time that they've done something for a trading card. And then, within that set itself, is it a significant rookie class, right? I mean, we look at 1996 Topps Chrome, we look at 2003 Exquisite. Those are both first year and important rookie classes, which I think really helps make those sets in general have, long-term relevancy. Other players in the set too, outside of rookies, right? Like, are there significant Hall of Famers that are going to be in that set that really matter? What kind of, now that we have cards that are serial numbered, what kind of low print run items are in there? Are there, outside of this specific set, the inserts, are the inserts important? Do they all have great designs? Because, designs are something that are really starting to bring cards to the forefront and the relevancy. I mean, look at the Kaboom craze that we've gone through, right? Look at 97 PMGs.
Yep.
There's designs can be a huge factor in, the aesthetics and people falling in love with a card. I know for me, it's a big deal. Sometimes I look at a card and I'm like, man, that card is really cool. I call it does Bowman Chrome or Topps Chrome baseball. I ripped Shocker, right? I ripped some of that with a friend of mine over the holiday break, and it's a fairly inexpensive product. I think you get like 8 or 10 boxes for about $1,000 or $1,200, whatever the case was. And there was an insert in there that I can't remember if they called it like City Highlights or, Bright Lights or something like that, but it was, big market teams like Boston and New York and LA, they had them for their superstar players. And just, I thought the design of the card was really, really cool. It got me almost to the point where I was like, hey, it might be kind of fun to collect the set of these because they're just very, I think they're very well done. So there's a slew of different things that you can look at from set importance. But if I had to really rank them, I would go with a first year production and then the rookie class. I think those are two of the really big key things for a set having significance. And right behind it, I mean, very close is the design.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. And, we've talked over the last handful of shows about some of those sets, whether it's the T206 tobacco cards, whether it's, 1933 Gaudy baseball, 52 tops, the list kind of goes on. And I think what we were kind of looking for here is, 1997 PMGs. Those are all widely known at this point, but in terms of like modern sets, what do we think could be some of the ones that are really interesting? You referenced 2003 Exquisite Basketball. You also have 2005 Exquisite Football, which is the first year of that product, and a lot of the game use stuff with Brady in there and Peyton Manning. And then you have 2006 Exquisite Baseball, which is the first year of that, and it wasn't its own product. And then, of course, what's become wildly popular is the inaugural year of Prism, 2012, with the golds there. And a year later, you have Select, which is a first-year product, and kind of talking to some of the new school guys, 2015 Revolution was the first year of that product, and Mosaic in 2017. So just kind of identifying some of those modern sets that, as you zoom out maybe 20, 25, 30 years from now, what are those sets that could be iconic because some of the things that you mentioned are the first-year production, the design looks great, and I think that's really interesting aside from the rookie classes. Yes, we all want to make a little money. We all want to be able to invest our money wisely, but we are collectors at heart, and some of these sets and cards speak to us a little bit, just like the one you referenced there with that Bowman Chrome product that you ripped.
Yeah, totally. And I don't want to shit on Mosaic because I actually think it's a beautiful design. But I would say, like, is it 2017 was the first year Mosaic, which was Donovan Mitchell's rookie year?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So for that, and this is just my opinion, but like that is more design than anything, right? Like I think it's actually a beautiful card and a beautiful set, but like that rookie class doesn't have a ton of significance, and the brand Mosaic doesn't have a ton of significance yet. Maybe it will. But I would almost look at that and go, yeah, that for me that doesn't check all the boxes, right? Like Prism does. Prism is a super popular set, very iconic. There's, but then first year Prism also doesn't have a great rookie class, right? It's 2012.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
So that's Kawhi, but then you've got,
he's
second
fading
year
a little bit.
Yeah. His cards are not doing the best. Well, I mean, look, the guy's about as exciting as a thumbtack. And then you've got, at least with 2013 Prism, second year Prism, you have a monster rookie class. So I guess you could say the same for Mosaic with Luka, second year, right? Luka and John 2018. But
it's hard to match 2003 Exquisite Basketball is what we're saying.
It is. It really. Well, that's the thing. So you want to look for monster iconic sets if that's really what you're looking for. I mean, you're looking at maybe finding one of those every 10 years. I mean, that's like super significant, right? Now, you can find some other significant ones within there, but 97 PMGs and 03 Exquisite, I don't know if we've had one since 03 Exquisite that I can call out as being crazy significant. Maybe 2009 National Treasure just because of that brand.
Yep.
And at Curry's rookie year, so that coincided well. It's almost, you kind of have to have that perfect storm a little bit. With the 2003 Exquisite, I mean, they made that product around LeBron's rookie class. I mean, that's literally why that came out so expensive. There was so much hype around LeBron and that class that, they kind of made that product for that for that class, and it changed really the game that we have now for trading cards.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if I was to isolate one, and you did mention, right, the kind of hang up there, you do have Kawhi. There's a couple other solid rookies in that 2012 Prism class, but it's the first of its kind. You have the gold refractors. You're still looking at boxes going for, $4,000 a box. So I think it's going to hold up in terms of, I think you're going to see a lot of set collectors gravitate towards that. We've kind of seen here over the last year or so, right? People are putting together the PMG red set, and obviously a couple guys are trying the gauntlet of putting together the green. But 2012 Prism Gold is certainly a set that collectors are trying to put together. So that will be I think it'll be iconic for that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go. It's time, folks. That's right. We're going to discuss undervalued and overvalued cards, or maybe even some memorabilia assets, potentially some players. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on to these assets or players? We'll give you some opinions and back it up.
In terms of identifying a couple cards that we think could be good buys, it's time to talk about a 1955 vintage baseball card and a card that is in the mid to late 90s where you might be thinking, hey, isn't that the time of overproduction? Two cards that we believe are both undervalued. Jesse, I'm going to let you lead it off with a 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax rookie.
Yeah, look, so anybody who has been in our market for a while and, buys and sells baseball, since we're talking baseball now, they understand the lack of love that pitchers get. And it is baffling to me, to be honest with you, because pitchers are, they're the quarterback, in my opinion, of the team. They can affect the outcome of a game more than a single batter can. Typically, right? You go throw 9 innings or throw 8 and get your closer in there, and you don't allow any runs. Well, you put your team in a pretty damn good position to win the game. But for some reason, it hasn't translated in our market for pitchers getting the love they should and the dollar value that they should in their trading cards. So I look at a guy like Sandy Koufax, who is a top 10 pitcher all time, arguably top 5 for a lot of people. And this 1955 top set, it's an iconic set. It has, not only Koufax's rookie, but it has Clemente and Harmon Killebrew. It's a horizontal card. And the 1956 top set, 55 was so popular and did so well that 56, they almost copied it. If you look at it, it's another horizontal card. And a lot of people have a difficult time discerning between 55 and 56 tops. And then they even kind of redid it again in 1960, right? So it's an amazing set. And you look at a guy like Koufax, you could pick up a PSA 8 for about $25,000. And even Roberto Clemente, who in a lot of people's arguments is borderline top 20 all time, right? His PSA 8s are $80K. And there's only 24 PSA 9s that exist for Koufax. There's 3 10s. But if you look at like a Koufax PSA 9, it'd probably sell for, my guess is between $300,000 and $400,000 right now. A Clemente 9 is $1 million card. And you want to get into Mantle and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, there's bigger deltas, but so yeah, pitchers just don't get the love they deserve, and that's why I have Koufax as my undervalued this week.
What's so interesting about pitchers is it kind of depicts the market of being out of sight, out of mind. They're only pitching once every 5 days or so. Now, I know it was a little different back then. Guys were not only pitching a little bit sooner, they were pitching longer into games. But I completely agree with you in terms of Sandy Koufax's profile. And you mentioned the set. It changes for me from time to time, but gun to head, 1955 Topps is probably my favorite looking vintage Topps baseball set. I've actually been trying to acquire a Koufax rookie for a while, just haven't found the copy in the grade range I'm looking for. I had a deal about 5 years ago fall through on eBay, purchased it, and of course, guy did not send it. But I think
shocker.
I think it's unfortunate we didn't get to see more Koufax, right? He was forced into early retirement because he had severe arthritis in his throwing arm. He retired at 30, but he left the game at his peak. I mean, final 4 seasons, 1.88 ERA, 1.74, 2.04 in his final season, 1.73. Won the pitching triple crown 3 times. I mean, I love this, right? Great set, all-time pitcher, iconic Dodger brand. It's out of baseball season. I really like this choice here. The one that I'm looking at, you're welcome. The one that I was kind of looking at, and it's shocking. Like I've seen it increase a little bit. I'm not sure if people know it exists. I'm looking at the 1997 Upper Deck game jersey, Ken Griffey Jr. And for me, like, this was the year Upper Deck basketball introduced their iconic game use set. They did it with baseball as well. So this is, to me, one of baseball's landmark sets in kind of the history of the baseball hobby. And what's interesting, only 3 players were available in the set. You had Ken Griffey Jr., you had Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest hitters of all time, and then Ray Ordonez, who was a rookie in 1996. Big city, big market team with the Mets. There was lots of hype surrounding him. He never panned out. But these cards were randomly inserted into Upper Deck Series 1 packs. They have a piece of game-used memorabilia. This was the first year of their kind in the baseball card market. And it led to sets you'd later go on to see in 2000, where Upper Deck introduced game jersey cards with on-card autos serial numbered to each player's jersey number. And so you had Upper Deck game jersey autos serial numbered to, 2 for Derek Jeter. You had Upper Deck pros and prospects. You had Ovation with game-used bats. You had 2000 SPX winning materials. But it all started with this 1997 Upper Deck game jersey Ken Griffey card. So I look at this, not only are they rare, but they're condition sensitive. No PSA 10 examples of the Griffey. You had 5 PSA 9s, all told. PSA's only graded 63 copies of the Griffey, 139 copies of Griffey, Gwynn, and Ordonez combined. So I'm a big believer of game used right now. I think we're going to have a record sale of a big sibling card coming up here. I like buying around the holidays. I like buying out of season. This is one of those iconic sets of an iconic player that I think has some long-term significance in the hobby and the baseball card market, which is kind of the theme of this show.
Yeah, totally. What I love about this too is, on the back of the card, it actually says, "Congratulations, you've received one of the first ever game-worn jersey baseball cards from the Upper Deck Company." I mean, that's pretty cool when you actually read the back of the card and see that, because it is true. It's the first game-used baseball card that they ever did. Now, question for you. I've looked at quite a few sales data. Have you ever seen one that's anything but the kind of Mariner green? Has there been a multicolor outside of a one-color patch, or are they all one color?
Yeah, I believe what I have seen is one color. I think there's a couple rare examples outside of that. Now, obviously, in the times we're in, right, there's potential for some shenanigans there, but
sure.
Though I own, just for full disclosure, I own 2 of them, and they're both the same color. They're one color.
Okay.
The Tony Gwynn I did see had a pinstripe on it. There's actually a Tony Gwynn available for sale at PSA that's currently up for auction. There's about 6 days to go on that, so probably not a terrible idea.
Well, you know what I love about this card too is the look and feel and the font and all that. It kind of reminds me of the Ken Griffey Jr. baseball game on Nintendo.
Slugfest?
Right?
What's that? Was it Slugfest? Or am I going too early? You're thinking actual regular Nintendo.
Thinking, well, yeah, it's Ken Griffey Jr. Major League Baseball.
Okay.
It's the home run derby. It's with Jay Buhner and all those guys.
The players are oversized.
Yes.
And Griffey's blowing the bubbles.
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so I kind of the font on the card and the look of it kind of reminds me of that. So I love it for that nature. I'm a game used guy as well. And we talked about at the top of the show, the first production, the first of anything carries significance. So even a card, we sold a PSA 8 of this about 2 months ago for $3,000. Yeah. And it's one of those really condition sensitive cards because it has black border around just about the whole thing. But it's really an aesthetically cool looking card. And if there is any 2-color patches or 3-color patches out there that exist, I would assume they'll go for a monster premium because that would add a lot of flair to the card as well.
Oh, completely agree. And you mentioned that sales data, a PSA 8 going for for $3,000. That's actually pretty significant. And it sounds like if it was a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, that was kind of out of baseball season. And those were going for about $1,800 prior. So again, just finding these iconic sets, when you start to see them go up and down markets, when the sport is out of sight, out of mind, it typically has some of the qualifications for increasing in price down the line.
Pick a number, any number, whatever it may be. We got a number inside, but we want a magic number. All right, this is where we're going to pick a few big cards that enter in an auction over the next couple of days, and we're going to try and guess how much they sell for in advance. Throw out a number. We got one too.
We're going right into it. We're tearing off the Band-Aid. This is the segment of the show that everyone seems to love and gravitate towards. It's magic number time. Jesse, you did pretty well here as I look at these three cards that you've given us. We have Kobe and Jordan, we have Albert Pujols, and then we going vintage with a set that we referenced a little bit earlier with 1933 Gaudy. Let's start with the 1998 Topps East-West Refractor Michael Jordan Kobe Bryant duel in a BGS 10. Only 13 copies have been assessed pristine, just 2 copies higher with black label status. Arguably, the two most iconic players on the same card. Being a Lakers and Kobe's fan, talk about why this card is so collectible. Give us your estimated hammer, and we'll go from there.
Trading cards and memorabilia have seen incredible growth as an alternative investment. The company leading the growth? PWCC Marketplace. PWCC Marketplace runs the largest weekly auction of authenticated sports cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, video games, and memorabilia in the world. PWCC Marketplace also has more than 65,000 items listed in their fixed price marketplace that you can make an offer on right now. Head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see why they're the best option for buying and selling trading cards, memorabilia, and all of your collectibles.
You know, I go back to some of these videos where they'll splice in Kobe and Jordan doing the exact same move. I mean, Kobe mirrored his entire game around Michael Jordan. And, you know, this would be Kobe's third year in the NBA because his rookie year is 96. And so, you know, his idol being on the same card, you know, they're, you know, one's on the East, one's on the West. It's just a really pretty, you know, refractor card. Those black, I got to figure out where those 2 black labels are. I might want to try to buy one of those privately. I love this card personally. It's aesthetically very pleasing. You know, like I said, it's got 2 guys that go, you know, there's always a point in time during, I believe the NBA, like it's like a decade, right? There's like a player of the decade.
Right.
And obviously it was Jordan in the, really in the 80s and the 90s. And then it was Kobe in the 2000s, and now it's been LeBron in the 2010s, and we'll see if it's, you know, Luka in 2020 and beyond. But these are the 2 most important players at the time when this card was made. You know, one's in the East and one's in the West, and you know this card is just it's a pretty incredible piece to have up for auction, honestly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, you mentioned it. Great design, great idea for a card. Jordan on the front representing the East Coast, Kobe on the back representing the West Coast, both in action poses. It's got the double-sided refractor. It's 0.5 away from being the third black label copy. Maybe that's your in. This is the one,
yeah,
and you just
well, I can't bid.
Yes, that's true. That's true. All right.
Oh, I didn't give you my value.
You didn't.
I got to give you my value.
I'll let you
first.
go.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So I'm at 81.35.
Okay, I'm going to be a little bit lower than you. I think that's actually a really good guess. I'm going to come in here at 7,200 on the Topps East-West Refractor Jordan Kobe duel in BGS 10. This one's going to be interesting because there really hasn't been a sale in a decent amount of time. Starting to see some signs that we're ticking back up. Basketball is on every night, so this one to me is going to be interesting to see where it ends, but ultimately a great card, great design, something we've talked about throughout the course of this show. This next card is one that I feel like we've talked about in maybe a previous episode, but I just absolutely love it. It's the 2001 SPX Albert Pujols rookie auto, serial number to just 1,500 copies. Also in BGS 10 pristine condition, only 15 copies. This is, an action shot of Pujols. The autograph is on card, serial numbered. Even though it has, the perfect grade, in general, this is a condition-sensitive set. It's got some dark blue edges, borders. 2 of the corners are dark blue. We've talked about Pujols a bunch here. He reached some milestones with 3,000 hits and 700 home runs. That just puts him in elite company with only one other man. His name is Hank Aaron. So for me, this was a really interesting card. I own one. The set in and of itself is interesting because it's 2001 SPX baseball, but it was actually released in 2001 Upper Deck Rookie Update. So that's where you can actually find these cards if you're attempting to pull them. Now, this one to me is tricky. We've seen Pujols prices come down a touch recently after the milestone was accomplished. Out of sight, out of mind with baseball. Season's over. I'll lead us off here. I'm going to go 3,240 on the SPX Albert Pujols.
I think that's a pretty good number, and I'm sure that you're factoring in, it does have a 10 auto grade from Beckett, but there is some bubbling in the auto, and if it was regraded today, it likely would be a 9. And I think that's going to affect the value. But I do love this card. We've talked about Pujols. You're a Pujols guy. You've got quite a bit of his stuff, and so I thought I'd throw it in here for you. But it's really cool to find, not the main set of a guy, but out of 1,500 of, a card that's an on-card auto. I've always loved Pujols' auto, and there's always what I think is funny is like there typically seems to be issues with his autograph in just about every production from Pujols, and so this one's no different. This one's got a little bubbling in it, and I think that's going to affect the value. I'm very close to where you're at. I'm at 3,840.
Ooh, okay, 3,840. Okay, so we got a little.
I think
it'll
likely.
I think falls between.
I think it'll likely fall between, but we'll see who's closer.
I was thinking that as we were going through this, I was like, this one's going to be interesting. I did see a recent comp, and I think it fell closer to where you're at there. Another baseball card. This one, the vintage variety. A Yankee, so this pulls on my heartstrings a little bit. We're going to be talking about the 1933 Gowdy Lou Gehrig card number 160, and that's the distinction because there is another version of this. This specific one is a PSA 2. It's got excellent eye appeal in the top 15% of all PSA 2s. There's some slight paper loss on the back, but the front is beautiful. It actually presents more like a 5, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, this card it's really incredible. And, being a PWCCE, so top 15% of eye appeal for a 2, on the front of the card, it damn near looks like a 6. There's a little bit of, I think paper issue on the back, and that's why it's a 2. But, from an eye appeal perspective, it's just a gorgeous card. 33 Gowdy is one of my favorite sets in all of baseball. Absolutely love it. There's 4 different Ruth cards in this set. And, this Gehrig, takes a backseat to the majority of the Ruths, but, I think it's an amazing card, and I've got this one valued at $4,135.
Interesting. I think this one for me, and maybe I'm a little closer to it because he is a Yankee, right? Just iconic player. You think about what he means to baseball, and to your point, he kind of gets overshadowed by Ruth and Mantle, and obviously DiMaggio is kind of in that same class, and then you have Jeter down the line, but he wore number 4 because he batted cleanup for the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And if you want to know what iconic is, Google the phrase cleanup hitter.
Yeah.
And Lou Gehrig is the first player that pops up. And so you couple that with the Yankees brand. It's an action photo. You got the pinstripe uniform. 33 Gowdy, to your point, is one of my favorites as well. It's one of the best baseball sets of all time. Great player, multiple MVPs, 7 World Series, over 2,700 hits, a few dingers shy of 500. He was durable. You look between PSA and SGC combined, the only 2 companies that you want, your vintage cards holdered in, 2,300 total examples have ever been graded between the two. I'm actually going to come in a touch higher than you, Jesse. I am actually going to be at 46.40 on this one. I think the eye appeal is that good. I thought it looked more like a 5. You're saying, hey, it looks like more like a 6. I would not disagree with you on that. And I think ultimately collectors are going to realize that. Vintage collectors are certainly savvy. We talk all the time that, a PSA 2 isn't necessarily a PSA 2 when we talk about eye appeal here. And this does come with the PWCC designation of excellent, meaning the top 15% of all PSA 2. So going to be a touch higher than you on this one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm feeling more confident in your number. When I priced this thing out, it was a few days ago, and the card's already sitting at 3,500. So, I think you've got a better shot to win this one than me. But I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to stick to my original guns.
Okay. We are going to leak into a segment that's actually my favorite because it's all about rarity for me.
Damn, that's a ghost. We're going to highlight a card that hasn't sold in more than a year right now, or is serial numbered to less than 100 copies produced. We're going to talk about why this card is significant, maybe in terms of hobbies or language or just the overall rarity of it all, and why it's considered a ghost.
Probably the best work you've ever done here, buddy. This is a lot of great cards in the segment of That's a Ghost. But this one is not only a ghost, but it is iconic. We talked about 1997 Upper Deck game jersey cards a little bit earlier in the show with the Ken Griffey. This is the much superior sibling card. This is the 1997 Upper Deck game jersey Michael Jordan auto to 23 copies ever. The first of its kind, pack pulled, first game used patch. It's an on-card auto. Talk to us a little bit about the significance of this monster.
Well, yeah, this is only the second time in the history as a company we've even sold this card. And it happened to be the exact same example back in 2019. It sold for $94,000. It's just, it is the first game used on-card auto that exists for basketball cards. And this card itself, there's only 23 that exist. They hand numbered them, and I'm a sucker for hand numbering. Pack pulled, right? You had to get these out of packs. Now they have a version of this that is not autographed. It's just a patch card. But the majority of those that you see signed, you won't see the hand numbering in the bottom right-hand corner because those were typically signed at one of the Upper Deck camps for Michael Jordan. So this one, only 23 exist. It is an unbelievable card, and there's certain ones that have multicolored patches, some all white. This one is an all white patch, but also finding a 10 auto grade is extremely difficult, and this one has a fantastic auto. So for reference, there was one that was moved privately about a year and a half ago for $2.7 million and some change. Had only a 9 autograph, a BGS 8 with a 9 auto, but it did have a 3-color patch. So to each his own. I'm a sucker for both, pure autos and 3-color patches, but you just don't see these surface very often because once you sell it, the chances of it's almost like a Honus Wagner to the extent that, whatever you pay, you'll probably get a profit on it when you sell it, but then you're going to have to pay more the next time when you try to get one again. So that is why this is, one of the most important Jordan cards that exist. An argument, in my opinion, can be made that it's just as important, if not more important, than the PMG Green. So it's a monster card. We've got it live right now in a premier auction that ends in about a week and a half, but just a sweet piece.
We talk all the time about that 1997 Precious Metal Green Michael Jordan, card to 10 copies, and then there's this. Right. And if you're a lover of game used autographs and not so much insert cards, you'd flip flop the level of importance. And I mean, there's next to nothing more iconic than this specific card. And yes, there are some jerseys out there that have multiple colors. We've seen them. A couple were just unearthed and sent to PSA for grading. But this is a grail. This is the official definition of that. This is the kind of card that attracts all kinds of collectors, right? An art collector that might not own a single sports card, or a big wig on Wall Street that loves Michael Jordan and understands supply and demand and in the iconic status of this set. But even as like a collector, right? Like when a card like this becomes available, to your point, bidders are going to dig deep, put their largest bid in that makes them feel a touch uncomfortable doing it. But they do it because there's a chance they'll never have another crack at one because of either availability or a price increase when the next one actually does surface.
Right.
And, you know, information's everything in markets. Only 23 copies exist, right? But you and I both know there's a couple guys that are hoarding a handful, so even fewer copies available. And with cards like these, the vast majority of the time, you either pay up now or you pay more later.
Yeah, I actually looked for one of these pretty hard privately for a guy, and at this seller was not ready at the time to sell. But I kind of did a bunch of research and digging. I could find about 14 of the 23, and there weren't any that were available for sale. So, I mean, that gives you an idea, and there's 9 more that exist out there. You know, I'm assuming there's probably a couple still in packs, you know, and there's probably a few overseas that I don't know about, but that just shows you how difficult it is to find these. And I know for a fact that there's about 10 of these that they will not be sold for the next 5+ years, or longer, right? So, and you know some of the same guys I do. And so that's why when this opportunity comes up, you look at your collection, and if this is a chase card for you, you kind of just, you buy it and you figure it out. You figure out how to pay, right? Like, I got to sell some cards. I got to move some stuff around. Like, I'm planning on holding this thing for 5 years. Chances of you losing money on it are pretty slim.
I completely agree. This is one of those ones, if you have the funds, it is a chase card. If you don't have the funds, it's one you can look at and drool about. But, you know, there are methods, right? Especially through PWCC with some of the financing options you have to be able to go after a card like this and reposition your assets and sell some things that you might not love as much to make a play at a card like this.
Yep. It's just, it's one of those pieces that, you know, I get excited about, and that doesn't happen too often these days.
I could go with, I could take this somewhere, but I'm not going to.
I'm just spoiled. I see so much cool stuff all the time, and you get one of these in front of you, and it's still, you know, it kind of gets the juices flowing.
Speaking of juices flowing, one of my favorite segments, This or That.
So we doing this or we doing that? You tell me and we'll tell you. We're going to compare 2 cards right now with similar value that are completely different. Let me give you an example. Let's just say, for argument's sake, you have a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card worth $30,000. But you also have a modern day Joe Burrow rookie card worth $30,000. Which one would you rather have and why? You tell us. We're going to tell you right now.
You got 2 different cards for us, and I was shocked to see one of the names on this list. And I don't think you could give every single one of our listeners of this show 10 guesses each, and they would come up with one of the gentlemen's cards that you've presented in this segment. The first one we're looking at is a 1996 Topps Chrome Refractor Allen Iverson rookie auto in BGS 9.5. The other, from the iconic 1952 Topps set, a Mini Minoso rookie, PSA 8, excellent eye appeal. Talk to us about these 2 cards, their importance, and which one ultimately you'd go with.
Yeah, I know on the surface, you look at a Mini Minoso, and not a lot of people know who he is, but it is the 1952 Topps, you know, iconic set. He is a Hall of Famer. It's a PSA 8, which is very difficult, so I included it. But we'll start with the 1996 Topps Chrome Refractor Allen Iverson rookie autograph in a Beckett 9.5. You know, this is an on-card auto, aftermarket, and in our space, sometimes those are viewed less desirably than you would think, right? Which I've never understood. I think it's pretty sweet to have a card like a 96 Topps Chrome Refractor that a player's never touched, and actually get that guy to touch the card and autograph it, and it still grades a 9.5 or a 10. In my opinion, that should make it much more significant than just a regular Topps Chrome Refractor 9.5 without the auto. But, Allen Iverson is probably pound for pound the best basketball player that's ever played in the NBA. I mean, just an absolute stud and a workhorse. I've always loved watching him, growing up, and he's kind of outside of the step over on my Lakers that he did. We still took the championship, so that's all that matters. But but outside of that, I've always absolutely loved the guy. So that card sold for about $8,700 recently, and the same for the Mini Minoso. That's why we're doing this or that. Obviously, they sold about the same amount. But with the 52 Topps Mini Minoso, you've got this one is a PWCCE. So again, top 15%, beautiful copy. It's the iconic 1952 Topps set. He is a 9-time All-Star. He's a Hall of Famer. There's only 9 cards graded higher of this card, which I think is very significant. There's no PSA 10, so there's 9 PSA 9s with 0 10s. And if you look at the PSA 8 value at $8,700, a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle, which once again is not a rookie, would be 160x from a pricing perspective. So it shows. Now, granted, Mickey Mantle was a better player than Mini Minoso, but you have a Hall of Famer, 9-time All-Star, low population on the card from the iconic 52 Topps set. This one is harder for me once I really started looking at it more than I thought it would be. I thought I'd go with the Allen Iverson, no question, because of my love for basketball and Allen Iverson himself. I'm actually, from an investment perspective, going to go Minoso.
I think you're actually right. Now, the Allen Iverson's interesting because it's the first year Topps Chrome, something we talk about all the time. It has the star-studded rookie class, arguably the largest brand across all sports in the card collecting space, Topps Chrome. It's a refractor, so you have the nice shine. There's some difficulty with this specific card due to greening, and I think we've mentioned greening before, but we didn't really go into what it was. But I mean, this is the first year, so it had some issues with the technology. It wasn't up to snuff. There's some issues with the ink and the plastic that was used, and eventually over time, the way those two things kind of react with one another causes some of these unintended defects, we'll call them, and humidity has become a catalyst to kind of causing the reaction between the ink and the plastic and enhancing this greening. I'm not an Allen Iverson super collector, so I don't know his aftermarket signing habits, and I think that's important to know in deciding which way you'd go. We've seen recently with Griffey, he's signing a ton of his 1989 Upper Deck rookies, so it's hard for me to know how often or how many Allen Iverson's signing. Trout, for example, I know him a little bit better. He stopped including his update rookie in his recent public signing offerings, and so having that piece of intel would help me exponentially here. The Mini Minoso is interesting, and I think why we're both gravitating towards that is we know how important the 1952 Topps set is, right? It's just super iconic. First year of Topps baseball, damn good player. And I think the key with Mini Minoso and kind of how things are trending, right? He broke barriers. He was the first Afro-Latino player in Major League Baseball. He was the first black baseball player to ever be part of the White Sox organization. And so you have some historicness to him as a player. We have some historicness with the set. This is a set that collectors want to build. Yep. And within the idea of completing an entire set, now we want the best set, which means the highest graded set. And, with the PSA 8 Mini Minoso, I actually came up with 14 examples better. I see 9 PSA 9s, and then I see 5 PSA 8.5s. But I think,
I missed the 8.5s.
To your point, specific to the PSA 8, it comes with the great PWCC designation of excellent eye appeal. So there's definitely a chance that this 8's better than some of the 8.5, or maybe even a 9 or 2. So he has a nickname, the Cuban Comet. Yeah. So I like that nickname. I'm actually going to side with you here, and I'm a little shocked, and it's only because I'm just not sure of Allen Iverson's signing habits.
And that's a fair comment. That's one that I didn't even weigh, but that actually makes me lean Minoso even more. And Iverson doesn't have a...
Has the Reebok money kicked in yet?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once it does, he's going to sign less. But seriously, Iverson's auto isn't that, spectacular either. So I think that might play into it as well. But yeah, it's a tough call. 2 very, very different cards, which I liked this week. And, glad to see that we're on the same side.
Beautiful. Anything else that you have for us?
I mean, we got a Premier Auction live right now. We got about 260 cards there. Some really, really key pieces. Some, what guys like to call fire pieces. Some amazing stuff that's up for offering. Including that 97 Upper Deck game jersey. So I'd suggest you get on there and check it out. And then once again, we have our weekly auctions that close every single Sunday. New authentication program out via a company called MBA, Mike Baker Authenticated. If you've got cards laying around that are worth, call $15-20 or more, you can send them in, get them authenticated and sold for only $3. $3 authentication. It's only takes 10 days. It's very fast, very efficient, and it's a pretty industry-changing offering that we have.
Sounds excellent. And as always, if anyone's looking to get in touch with anyone at PWCC Marketplace, the website is linked atop the description.
Make sure you follow Payne on Twitter at Payne Insider. Subscribe to Bet the Board and get notified when new episodes of CardBoard Chat air on Tuesdays. And be sure to stop by pwccmarketplace.com for all your collecting needs.